Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Holmes, and I'm here to give you an introduction to using Foundation Directory. If you've never done this before, I want to make sure that you understand how to do it and how to get in and make the most use of it. At the end of this training, you should be able to explain what Foundation Directory is and how to use it the most effectively. And that means knowing what you need to search before you start searching, how to find specific prospects for your particular project. So we're going to take you in and show you some examples on how to get in and get good results matching information about funders from this database. You will be able to evaluate these prospects and find out if they're a good fit for your needs. And we're going to also tell you all the different ways that you can access Foundation Directory all across the country or from your own home. There's also good places to find additional information about Foundation Directory. So if this video doesn't answer all your questions, you will know where to go to find the answers. The reason why we have Foundation Directory, and it's been something that Candid has been doing as long as it's been in existence. It started back when we were Foundation Center, and we have created it from a paper version into an online version because when you're trying to find grant opportunities and looking through all the different resources that you can use to find these grant opportunities, there are lots of different ways to do it, but none of them are really satisfying because you don't find everything. So you can search online, you can use Google and look to find all the different funders that are out there. And by funders, that what I'm talking about are the private foundations, the private givers. So those would be corporations that give money away and charities that give money away. Private foundations, community foundations, all of those. If you search online, you'll find about 10% of them have websites. Not everyone is out there to publicize what they do. You can look for requests for proposals, RFPs, but what you'll find also is that a lot of these funders don't publish RFPs. They just have a steady way of requesting money every year. There's not just a short-term funding opportunity the way that you might get for government funding. So you need to know that that's not going to cover everything either. You can look at GuideStar. GuideStar is part of Candid, and GuideStar.org enables you to search for individual organizations, and that means any private foundations that are out there, community foundations that are going to be on GuideStar. But you're going to have to go one by one to do that and not really find a good match between what you're doing and what they're funding. The 990s are public, and these are the reports that the foundations publish and submit to the IRS every year. And you can get them. They're freely available on our website and a number of other websites. However, they don't really go into a lot of easily searchable detail on who is funding. And that's the point. Anytime you are looking to try and find a potential funder, you want to find one that matches up with you based on what you do. And what you can find by searching all of these other tools are potential funders, but they may not fund your geography. They may not fund the type of programs that you do. They may not give the kinds of funds that you need. So we recommend using Foundation Directory. This is our tool, and it has over 240,000 funders, and these come from all across the United States and all across the world. There's also information on over 2 million recipients of grants. So not just the funders, but who received the grants. And then 4 million grants, like multiple grants to the same recipients. All of these are added yearly. So there's multi-millions of grants in this database. That's important because the reason why it's useful is that you can look to see who's given to an organization very much like yours in your region. And the best way to tell who's likely to give in your region is to see if a grant has already been given in that area. So it uses that large collection of data to provide you with the right answers. And that's why we would want to use it. It has detailed profiles of funders and grants, recipients, companies that give the money away, and it's updated daily. So we try and make it as accurate as humanly possible. We get all this information from different grantmaker websites. We get it from the 990s that you would look up yourself, but we pull that information directly. We also get annual reports, application guidelines, and a lot of direct reporting from the grant makers themselves. Some of these grant makers report directly to us, before they publish anything to the IRS. So you're getting the most recent information when you go into Foundation Directory. So before I show you this and before I get into it, I want to make sure that you can identify 3 things before you start getting into this. And these are the 3 simple questions. Before you start searching Foundation Directory, you want to be able to find a match with the ones who are most likely to give to you. So these 3 things are the most important things to know. First of all, and you should know them very easily. First of all, who specifically are you serving? What populations are you serving? If it's a particular ethnicity or race or a particular group of people, seniors, young people, children, you have to be very clear about who you're serving because you're going to try and match up with potential funder based on that. You're also going to add in where they are specifically. Most of the funders in this collection of data are pulled from people that maybe started a foundation because they wanted to give back to the community that they made their money in or the community that they live in, or companies that are going to give back to the specific region that they have their locations and their employees and customers come from. So the geography, where they are, is very, very important. So if you look for who is funding children, you want to narrow that down to where they are funding children's programs, because it tends to be very much locked into a particular cities or counties or regions. The third thing you have to ask yourself is, what are you doing for the people that you are serving? So are you providing educational programs? Are you providing workforce development? You should be able to describe, and this is something that you are probably in habit of doing, you should be able to describe exactly what you do for the people that you help. That's all you would really need to start going in and search Foundation Directory. But once you get into it, and we'll show you this, and then you can think about these questions, we'll come back to them. You want to be able to evaluate, does this funder match up with me? Based on how I describe my program, when you look at this funder, do they meet your requirements? Is their mission a priority for them? Do they give big enough grants for me? Do they support organizations like mine? And do I know anybody associated with this funder? So what we're going to do here, I'm going to stop sharing the slides here and go and share my screen and share the Foundation Directory so that you can see it and get what you need directly from it. So the Foundation Directory is what you see right here on the screen. This is our database. It is something that if you can't get it for free from home looking like this. You would need to subscribe to it. But there are other ways that you can get it for free. So I'm going to tell you about those in a little bit. But it's meant to be something that you can use, just common language, and begin to narrow down your search. The main thing you want to think about when you get into Foundation Directory is this little window here, the very first window that comes up. And it's meant for you to type in just what the program is that you're doing. So say you have an after-school health program, and it is in Atlanta, Georgia. So you can type in health after school, Atlanta, Georgia, and it will give you, if you hit the search button, a match. It takes those terms in and it searches our taxonomy, or the words that we use to define all the different grant makers we have information on. And it tries to help you. It takes those words and it says, here are the different subjects that might be related to what you're doing. Now you can see from this, I typed in health after school, Atlanta, Georgia, and it came up with a number of different terms. What I'm going to do before I start looking at the over 1,900 grant makers that have come up, I'm going to go and modify this search so it's a little more specific. And the way I do that is by clicking on advanced search and filters. So if I click on advanced search, I can look and see the different terms that have been automatically associated with this particular program. Usually those terms are going to fit into these 3 boxes across the top. And these 3 boxes correspond to what I asked you about before. Who are you serving? Where are they? And what do you do for them? Usually I start with 2 out of these boxes. And I tend to start with the what are you doing for them and the geographic focus, because If you're doing out of school learning, after school programs, which is out of school learning is the definition of that we have in here, that's implying that it's going to be for kids, school age kids. But I never mentioned anything about food aid. And I didn't specifically say about public health. I actually talked about health instead. So I can eliminate things by just clicking on the X and removing those terms. But I can also add in terms that talk more about exactly what I'm doing. So for example, when I type in the word health, you will see not only the word health, which is the overall subject area heading, the big broad heading that we have in there, you'll have subheadings within that. So if you wanted to work specifically about mental health, or you wanted to search specifically about outpatient or public health, occupational health, you can do that. Clicking on the health button, and you can click on any one of these, but if you click on the far left one, that's going to encapsulate all the different health elements. And it's also including this out of school learning term. And because it says match any here, it's going to find any funder that has given for out of school learning, after school programs, or health in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's what that search is defined as. But since you have an after school health program, you might want to change match any to match all. That narrows things down because it says it has to have a funder that has given for out of school learning and health in Atlanta, Georgia. A good rule of thumb is to know that there's lots of different blanks you can fill in here. You can add in a specific population. You can add in a specific support strategy, by which we mean what the money, how it's directed. So to capital and infrastructure or to general support. Or you can even add in specific types of transactions. So cash grants or contracts, even types of grant makers, if you only want to see businesses, for example. However, know that the more of these blanks that you fill in, the narrower the search is going to be. Right now, it's narrowed down to these terms, the two in the subject box and the geographic focus. So if I do the search now, I come up with 27 grant makers. These 27 grant makers are drawn from everyone who has given for out of school learning and health to an organization in Atlanta, Georgia. Notice that geographic focus means not that they're necessarily, the funders are necessarily located in Atlanta, but the funders have given to organizations that are and that serve Atlanta. So I can look here and I see some funders that are not located in Atlanta, but are located in other locations. I see also funders that have given different amounts. Some of them have given quite small amounts. Some of them have given multi-million-dollar amounts. The way this list is organized, and you can see you can get lists of grant makers, of grants, of recipients, and the tax forms as well. The way the grant makers list is organized is in the ones that have given the most to the subjects that we searched. So for funders that have given to both out of school learning and health in a particular program, the Georgia Power Foundation has given 7 grants related to that. There tend to be small grants, but they've given 7 grants. The Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation has given 3 grants, but it looks like they're a little bit larger. If I just want to see those grants, I can click on that 3 and it will show me who the grants went to. And it can give me more detail on those grants if I click on them. But what most people want to do, and what most people use Foundation Directory for, is to identify potential sources of funding for the program. So if you mouse over the Blank Family Foundation, you get some basic information on them. But if I click on them, I get what's called our profile. This is really what you're in here to find. It's the profile of the particular foundation that you have identified. And you can find numerous of these numerous profiles as you go through here. I wouldn't just find one. I would find a number that match up with what you're doing. And by the way, when you get here, and if you want to not spend a lot of time looking at this right now, you can download it or email it to yourself. You can always do that with any of these results that you've come up with. But this tells you a lot about this funder. First of all, it tells me when this information was updated, and it was just updated at the end of January 2022. It tells you whether or not they report directly to us. And anybody who has a little E at the top reports their information directly to us. So the chances are you're getting the most immediate information about this particular funder. It tells you some basic contact information, and you can click to see all the contact information, but let me show you the entire profile. It goes in and describes the blank family foundation at a glance. And first of all, it goes into the three most important things that you need to think about when you're looking at a funder, which are what generally do they fund? And you can see the blank family foundation has a real focus on education, human services, and community. Goes down from there. You can ask where they're giving, and you can see they've given in a lot of different places, but primarily they give in Georgia. And they've given over 782 grants in Georgia since we started collecting information on them, which is back around 2003. You can also see that their grants vary in size. Most of them are $5,000 or less, but they have the capability of giving $500,000 grants, up to $500,000. They've even given a couple of grants bigger than that. This gives you some basic information. If you go down here, and by the way, on the left-hand side, there's a little handy way to get from one part of this profile to another. I want to see the grants that they've given. This shows me the ones that have given specifically for after school and health. And for example, the first one here was given in 2018. It was $97,000 to the Georgia State University Research Foundation. If I pull up that particular grant amount, it tells me about that grant. After School All-Stars Initiative Physical Fitness Program. They gave $97,000 in 2018. Here are some of the other subjects that it covers. Here's more detail on that. It gives you a real good sense of what they're giving for and whether or not this is a good match for you. If you have a program that's very much like this, you can say, well, hey, maybe I will go to this foundation because they've obviously given to programs like this recently, in the last 5 years. One thing you can do if you're not sure about the recipient and you want to know more about who they are, you can click on that recipient and it will actually bring up a profile of that recipient. It'll tell you who gives them grants, who else gives them grants, and where you can find more information about them. So what I tend to do, though, is go back to that blank foundation. This is the profile that we looked at from the beginning. Look at each of these and see, do these compare to the program that I'm doing? And if so, this is possibly a good prospect for me. So I'll read further. I see that they've given to programs very much like mine. I can see a profile of their funding interests and read more about them. They have a long background. They have program areas that they discuss for different things that they do. And what you're doing when you're looking at these is looking to see, how does this match up with what we're doing? Do we fit into any of these program areas? You're looking for terms that they describe that look similar to you. So you take notes in this and you keep track of it. As you read further, you look down here to see what their limitations are. And this tells you where they don't fund. So you want to know about that. They give primarily in a few locations across the country, probably where this person who started this foundation made their money or lives. And it tells you what they don't fund. So if you look here and you see that your program is not something that they fund, then you don't waste your time. But what it does tell you, if there's no reason you shouldn't apply to them, it tells you how they like to be approached first. And this particular foundation likes to be approached through an inquiry to a staff member at the specific program area, and you can go to this part of their website to apply. Oftentimes they'll say, send us a letter of inquiry, go to our website. I generally look to see if they publish a phone number, and that would be published at the very bottom of this record at the contact information. And if they do, I tend to make a phone call when I have information about what they do, and I've done my research. I can then speak to them and ask them if they would like to see a grant request from me. It's the best way to make a connection and hear some of the straight story from a particular funder. Just to look at some of the other things on this record that may help you. If you want to look at their financials, you can look at their 990 and see everybody that they've given to in all these different years. You can also look down further and see who's who. And what we try to do is add in little LinkedIn links if any of the people that are associated with this foundation have a LinkedIn profile. Because oftentimes talking to someone that you know or being connected to them can help you with your grant proposal. So we make sure that you know who's working with this foundation and who started it and who's the donors available with it, and then whether or not you might be connected to them. And you can go to LinkedIn and see, maybe you're within one connection. Maybe you actually are friends with one of these people, and you can get more information. Everything you do in here is about gathering more information about this foundation so that when you approach them, you're not guessing, you're not trying to see if this might be a good match, but you have reinforced your search and found that it does seem to be a good match. And we'll go back to that slide in just a second that talks about how to make that decision. The last thing I want to show you here is back at the Find Funding page. Notice that in this blank page, this is the first page that you start with when you go in. You can include federal funders if you want to see some of those. You can also search for organizations. If you fill in this blank, it will search for a match between your program. So you describe your program in this blank. But if you just want to search for an organization name, you can click that button and then type in the name of the foundation, whoever it might be, and it will give you matches of all the people who are connected to that foundation or that might be who you're looking for. The other thing I do is I don't just do one search. So when I get back to this advanced search, maybe I've searched health before, maybe I just want to see all of the out-of-school learning funders who have given in Atlanta. I can type this in and it will give me terms to search. And this will be a lot broader search than I've done before. I can narrow it though, and I can say, show me the funders who have given only in a particular range of years, say in the last 6 years. And it will show me a list of funders who have given for out-of-school learning in Atlanta over the last 6 years. And it organizes it by the ones who have given the most grants. All right, hopefully this will help you. I want you to notice while we're here that there's a lot of help available. In addition to a little bit of information about FDO, there's also a guide that you can look through. There are frequently asked questions, and there's a way to contact us for more information. And you can always chat with us to get additional information. One thing I should say is that if you want to find out where to access Foundation Directory, the best place to go is to the candid.org website. And I'm going to switch right now from the Foundation Directory over to candid.org. Candid.org is the website for our organization, Candid. One thing you might want to look at there is up here at the very top of the screen. It's Candid at a glance. You click on Candid at a glance, it'll show you two things that'll be very helpful for you. One of them is a link to the Foundation Directory online. And if you're not a subscriber, you can still go there, get information, get help, get frequently asked questions, and chat with our help people. But one other thing you can do is to type in your zip code and find out where you can use this tool for free. Because we have about 400 partners all across the country, and in some places beyond the country, where you can go to find help and free access to the tool I just showed you, to Foundation Directory. So I typed in 15221, which is a Pittsburgh area zip code, and it will come up and do a search and find where are the potential our partners in that region. So places you can go, like the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, the Nonprofit Resource Center, or the Forbes Fund, or Beaver County Library System. These are all places you can go to use the tool I just showed you for free. I encourage you to put in your zip code because chances are there is a location within easy distance for you. And you can talk to them because a number of them, depending on the COVID situation, may have other ways of accessing our database or other databases. But this is a great place to find it. And both of these things, both the information on Foundation Directory Online and on where the different partner libraries, our funding information network, are located, is up here in the Candid at a glance. Remember, Foundation Directory Online and Find Us in the Community, those two resources. Just remember, when you're evaluating the effectiveness, ask yourself these 5 questions. Do you see that you meet the funder's requirements from what they describe? Is your mission or project's goal a priority for this particular funder? The more you see about your particular focus of your organization, the more likely this funder is interested in it, just like you are. You can see how big the grants are that they give. If you need to ask for a small amount or a large amount, you want to make sure that the funder can cover that and does cover that. You look to see the other organizations that are supported. That's the best indication that they're going to fund your organization, as if they support other organizations just like you. And then finally, if you know anybody associated with the funder, remember that that's a great way to get introduced to a particular funder. By the way, if you need to know more about writing grant proposals, we have an introduction to proposal writing and a proposal writing boot camp and several other programs that are about making connections to potential grant makers. And they're available on our Candid learning site, also available through candid.org at that little information button at the top of the screen. Just to remind you, you can access Foundation Directory at our Funding Information Network partners. That's all the ones that you can search by zip code at candid.org/find us. If you want to get a subscription and use it from home, you can do that at an essential level and also at a professional level. And I was showing you the professional level. And you can go to fconline.foundationcenter.org to find more information there. And remember, we're always here to help you. If you go to that FC Online Foundation Center website, you can find help articles, you can find YouTube videos, you can find person-to-person assistance through chat and through email, and you'll get the assistance that you need. So I hope that helped you get started, and I hope to see you in one of our classes sometime soon.